Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight for the Brooklyn Tea Party Zoom meeting on September 18th, 2023. Today we have the pleasure to have a special guest joining us, and that is Vito LaBella, who is running for City Council in the 43rd City Council District in Brooklyn, New York. Vito is running on the Conservative Party line. And Vito, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your reasons are for running for office?
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me here today. So I ran last year for the state Senate in the 17th Senate district, which covers a lot wider area, but it encompasses the area right now that I'm running in, the 43rd Council District. Last year, out of 35,000 votes, I came within 500 votes of winning. I had no intention of running in this year, but in April, I was asked to run by Assemblymember Lester Chang, by Chairwoman Vela Marone, and by Chairman Ted Gora.
Vito, so you ran in the state Senate, and you were off by 500 votes, which is very impressive, especially for Brooklyn and Republicans. We tend to not win in New York City, but lately we are having a trend of winning. So that is hopefully a trend that will move forward. But tell us more about that state Senate race and more about your history of what you did before running for state Senate.
So I ran last year. My motivation for running last year, since retiring from the New York City Police Department in 2017, I did 32 years, 31 and a half to be precise, and I retired as a lieutenant. And then I got involved with my kids' education. Specifically, I started doing this. I retired. I had no expectation of doing anything but helping out at the schools. And then what happened was the former administration, they came down on education, specifically my child's education, my children's education, as far as the specialized high schools and the gifted and talented programs. And that kind of got me involved down a rabbit hole, a very fine rabbit hole, I must say, from community education activism to elected representative on the Community Education Council to running for political office. And the reason that I ran is because I felt that all of my activism was fine, but taking it to the next level was really important. If we wanted to make a difference for the things that we believed in, and when I say we, I say members of the Asian community, members of the Russian community, I have very broad support in independents and moderate Democrats, as well as Republicans, because I reach out to every single community. I've been working specifically with the Asian community since I started the PTA 2017, but not just the Asian community, which is some of the things that I really want to emphasize. This was a gerrymandered seat. I call it the Aviles Brannan gerrymander, the Aviles Brannan mander, because they chopped up South Brooklyn into so many different pieces, and they did it. They say that the excuse, I should say, was to try to give a voice to the Asian community, try to empower the Asian community. That's nonsense. What they were really trying to do is disenfranchise more Republican and more conservative voices, but not just Republican and conservative, anyone who wants to vote along a conservative line and not the far left. And they wanted to, there was, I believe, a 12-seat redistricting committee. 9 Democrats, 3 Republicans. The Democrats all voted to push it through. The Republicans all voted against it. But of course, supermajority, we really didn't have a shot. But that's why I'm running. I'm running to try to advance all of the things that I worked on as a cop for 32 years and as an education activist. Because since 2016, de Blasio's 2013, but really it was when he just ran for and won for re-election, and he had nothing to hold him back. That's when he started pushing through all these crazy progressive laws, as well as the legislature up in Albany did the same. And I have a whole list of things that they pushed up in Albany, a list of things that the city council pushed here in New York City. And we could talk about specific things, but I just want to give you a general overview. So the
Right.
reason I'm running is to try to push back in summary, against the far left progressive agenda.
What neighborhoods does your district cover?
So the 43rd district covers Gravesend, Bensonhurst, a touch of Bath Beach, a touch of Dyker, a touch of Sunset Park.
Okay. In those communities, what do you feel is the central issue that is affecting everyone, you think, right now, this time?
Going back to last year, and in every single neighborhood, irrespective of the demographic, everyone says the most important thing to them is the issue of crime, right? They don't feel safe. They don't feel safe on the subways. They don't feel safe walking on the street. And it's not just they call them index crimes, which are the serious crimes that are reported by the New York City Police Department. It's the quality of life crimes. It's seeing these unhoused individuals on the street. It's seeing all these petty larcenies. It's the plexiglass on the shelves. All of these things sends the message that it's not safe, right? It's like back in the day, I remember no radio in car, right? You did that. You put a sign up to take your radio out because you didn't want somebody breaking the window for a car. So you didn't have a radio, and you had the club on the steering wheel. And that was a miserable time here. And it took years to fight back against that, and to get to a point where people who come here from all over the world, all over the country, you tell them about what New York was like in the 70s and the 80s and even the early 90s, and they look at you like you have two heads. They can't understand it. They say, oh, it's so nice now. Yeah, it's so nice because of all the work that we did. And it doesn't take a lot to go back to the way it was. And we're seeing, unfortunately, that happen with all of the local and the state legislation and policies that have been pushed forth. I called it foisted upon us.
Well, absolutely. For example, my friend just told me yesterday, he was in the city, he was at Arby's, and he was, I guess the telltale sign for him should have been if there was, when he walked in there, that there was a security guard there. So there was a security guard in Arby's. He's eating some of the food because he works on Broadway as a usher.
Mhm.
And when he had two shows, so he's in between shows, and he's eating some of his food, and this crazy lady comes into the Arby's screaming, blah, or like the crazy cat lady on The Simpsons, and she gets his bag and walks out with it. Now, mind you, the bag was empty. So then she comes back in, throws the bag at him, gets his soda, and throws it on him, and walks out. So he's just sitting there and standing there, and then the security guard was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." They bought him a shirt. The other people seemed like running the place couldn't care less, but the security guard, I guess, maybe scared that he might lose his job because he did nothing to prevent that or even to apprehend her. Bought him a new shirt because he had to go back to work. Now I told him, I said, listen, you make sure because the precinct's right around the corner from where he was. I think it's 30 something street. I forget where. I said, you make sure you file that report right after you leave because of the quality of life. Because when they say crime is going down, that's because people don't report the crimes. Because it takes 50 years before the police to get to them to actually take the report because of staffing issues, because there's also, the cuts that you see everywhere, and that's why they're not coming to you. And so he went actually to the precinct, and this was later at night, and he has to catch the train back to Brooklyn, and they just let him linger there for a half hour, and he said, I gotta go. I said, listen, you make sure you still file that report when you come back there. I don't care if it's a week, 2 weeks later, whatever the case may be. They're not going to get away with that crime statistic going away. We got to make sure every crime is reported so that way people know for sure what the real numbers are. Worse than it really is. So that's why it's important for anyone who's a victim of any type of crime to actually report that crime so they know what is going on, where they need to put their resources to deal with whatever these issues are. So, Vito, so you have, who's the candidates again? You have yourself in the Conservative Party, and then you have on the Republican ticket, what's her name?
Ying Tan.
Ying Tang, and on the
Susan
Democratic.
Zhuang.
Okay. And what's the history behind the Democrat candidate? Is she a former anything, or she's new to the scene?
She is Bill Colton's chief of staff. She worked in his office for a few years. She was away during COVID in the 2020s, and she came back with her family after, and she's living in Brooklyn now.
Okay. So, what issues that you think, besides the crime issue, that is affecting all of us? As we could see, maybe the immigration issue that we could see that's because it's the mayor said that it's going to affect the poor people. It's going to affect everyone because he's going to do budget cuts, and also, as we're talking about police staffing issues, he's going to cut overtime for the police. So, which is a brilliant idea. I mean, if you're a moron, you could agree with me.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant idea, but that's what's going to happen. Supposedly, it's costing us $5 billion currently, and they claim in a couple of years from now, it'll cost as much as $12 billion. Well, Mr. Mayor, maybe you shouldn't have stand at the bus stop as they were getting off, giving them swag bags like they're coming out of the Emmys. Okay, because this is absolutely ridiculous. We're a sanctuary city. Why are they sending them to us? Oh, I have no idea. So should Texas and all these other border states absorb everyone? I mean, Democrats, you're the reason why this is. And a wonderful mayor said it was MAGA Republicans that are the reason why we're in this issue. Yeah, we're the ones that said, come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. We're the ones that say, no, wait in America for your court date in 4 years from now or whatever. We're not the ones, Mr. Mayor. Wake the hell up. It's your party. It's your party only that is destroying our city. And that's why we need to elect conservative-minded people to these seats, because we cannot afford to have liberals that have been destroying our city. So, Vito, what when you're in office, what would be of the quality of life issues that you think you would like to address?
So the migrant issues, that's new, that's relevant, that's obviously this year. And you hit it on the head. I mean, you answered the question for me, but look, the problem is this. The problem is, we got beat. Biden came in and he did what he did, and these people are here. And they keep on coming. So over 4 years, we're going to have over 6, 7, maybe 8 million people in this country. And they're not illegal. That's even worse. They have zero status. They're given a piece of paper. They're not vetted. They're given a piece of paper. They're saying, oh, you have a court date in 2028. Or whatever the heck it is, 2028. Are they really going to be around in 2028?
No.
By then, they'll have disappeared. And because New York City is a sanctuary city, we're not going to turn them in. We're not going to look for them. When they don't show up, we're not going to help ICE, or we're not going to help immigration to find them. So it's horrible. The mayor can, with the stroke of a pen, say that sanctuary city status is not in effect, that the right to housing does not include immigrants or recent arrivals, that only includes New Yorkers. And he could do that, and he'll be sued, but he could do it. He won't. But what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't like to give people false information. I don't like to say people, you promised the moon, you can't deliver it. On the local level, what can we do? We can protest, which we've been doing. I was at we have schools are not shelters. I was down in Sunset Park. Sunset Park, a very liberal area, immigrant families. It's so interesting that you have immigrant Hispanic families that have signs, and all of a sudden they sound like Republicans, right?
Yes.
They have schools are not shelters, not here. We want to welcome people, but immigrate the right way. The problem is nobody else is listening. So we could only stand up and yell. But I have two things that I want to speak about specifically on the migrant issue that I would like to push along with other Common Sense Caucus members if I were to get elected. And that's So one is these kids who are coming in. As you know, I've worked on the Community Education Council for 4 years. I've been involved in education since I retired in 2017. We have these kids coming in, and we have to take care of them. There's just no sense. They're here, no fault of their own. We have to deal with them. We've lost 200 to 300,000 kids over the last since the pandemic. So we have the space for them. Um, we need to set up pediatric clinics where these kids are examined and vaccinated, because right now they're letting these children in without vaccination or medical background checks. That's insane to me. The
Right.
reason we have vaccines for our children is because if a child has an if a child is immunocompromised, an autoimmune disease, and they can't take a vaccine, then the idea of having everyone else vaccinated is they'll have herd immunity and this child will not be put at risk. But now with all of these, maybe 20,000, maybe 30,000, we don't know how many of these kids are coming in unvaccinated. You're putting these children who have no choice, they cannot get vaccinated, you're putting them at risk. And also you're putting at risk for little pockets of TB, pockets of measles. I mean, these are all very real possibilities that we should address. It's not going to cost any more, as everybody knows. We pay for Medicaid for everybody as soon as they step foot in New York City. Everybody gets a Medicaid card, so it's not going to cost us any more money. We should set up these things to take care of these migrant children, and in a sense protect all of the children in the schools.
So,
Secondly, the
yep.
migrant issue. Go ahead, Glenn. Do you have anything
Oh, no, go ahead, continue.
on the migrant issue? Look, I'm going to yell and scream. I want to secure the border, build the wall, take those big buoys with the red buoys, and you have the Hunger Games saw underneath them and put them from the head of the Rio Grande to the mouth. I'm good with that, right? Right down the whole Rio Grande, no problem. But these people are here now, and no one's looking for them, and no one's going to help send them and repatriate them back. So let's narrow down our ask. Let's ask that if someone is arrested, we do an e-verify. We see if they're here legally. We see if they just came in, and then track them. And if it's a minor thing, okay, maybe we let them go the first time. But if they keep getting arrested, if they get arrested for assault, robbery, burglary, any kind of felony, any kind of serious incident, maybe we just send those people to ICE. Maybe we just repatriate those people. And that's not a big ask. I think we could get some momentum around that ask. We could get common sense Democrats, moderate Democrats to get behind it and just get rid of the people that should never qualify for being in this country because they have poor moral character, criminal history, they have a history of not working, stealing, and let's just focus on the very worst of these individuals and get rid of them.
Yeah. Now, when you were mentioning earlier about the vaccination, you were talking about measles vaccines and the other one.
MMR, yep, measles,
Now,
mumps, rubella.
what's your thoughts on because of this COVID vaccine that they were pushing on kids that weren't really being affected by this COVID, and we're finding out now that with the COVID vaccine, you cannot sue the drug company if you had any adverse effects. There's still that waiver. If I'm wrong, someone correct me, but it's still going on where you cannot sue. And there's a lot of myocarditis and all this other issues that are happening. Me personally, I just wanted your thoughts on it. Me personally, they should not be forced to take this COVID vaccine where it's not affecting the children to begin with. They want it as much as what, newborns now or 6 months old. They're trying to approve. Hell no. Okay, because we all know what is going on here. Something strange is happening here, and people need to, have a choice in this. Now they're all for choice when it comes to abortion, right? My body, my choice, my healthcare decision. Right? But when it comes to your body, your choice, putting in something that's not even approved, it's only emergency use to put it like you're an experiment, that you're putting something in your body you don't want. They say, the wonderful Democrats say, no, you don't have a choice, and lose your job. Lose your job. How dare you? You don't love grandma. Look at me. I have the vaccine. I love grandma. Oh my God, I caught COVID. How did that happen? Oh my God, grandma got COVID from me. Oh my God, I can't walk on water no more. No, you can't. So that's what I'm saying. That this is still experimental, and
Mhm.
it's 2024 coming around the corner. It's election season again. So bring on the new
New
pandemic.
variant.
Right. Well, they're on 10-4, which is, as you know, and being a former police officer, which means what? 10-4 means you copy, right? Right. So 10-4. Well, on 10-4, the United States government is going to be doing a test on the emergency broadcast system on all your cell phones from FEMA, I believe it is. All your cell phones, all your TVs are going to be having that high pitched thing going off. I don't know. Maybe it's for the new pandemic. I don't know. Sound like a conspiracy theorist, or maybe because we're on the brink of World War III any second. Who knows what's down the road? And that's for the nation issue because it's going to affect all of us in this whole country if that happens. On a city level, we are dealing with a lot of craziness. It's sucking our resources away with this immigration issue. So my question was your thoughts on the COVID vaccine when it comes to children going to school.
Glenn, thank you. I want to clear something up for everybody. Okay. Um, I don't believe in personal attacks. I believe in just putting out the facts. And I've never lied. I've never changed my position from the primary to the general. Some of the conventional wisdom out there is you lie to the people in the primary, you tell the base something else, and then you kind of subtly shift over. I don't do any of that. I never scrub my social media. And because of that, I believe my opponent, Ying Tan, and at the behest of the people who are around her, actually, she engaged in totally unacceptable and unethical behavior, one of which is taking my statements out of context, lying about certain things that I said, and all of this. So and then they do this anonymous mailer thing. The Conservative Party got this anonymous letter listing 12 things that they had a problem with me doing, and of course it was unsigned. It's a nonsense hit piece, which is fine. But I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to clear it up. Shortly after, I believe it was September of 2021, I put out a post saying that, well, let's talk about mandating flu shots and COVID shots for the kids coming back to school. And that was based upon my role as a CEC member and also as the president of the school, which was 187. That's very large, 67% Asian community. And my kids in the Asian community, they weren't coming back to school. They were terrified. So I'm trying to have this conversation about, okay, what are we going to do to make these families more comfortable? And that's where that came from. And it was a discussion. I talk about everything. I put ideas out there. We have a back and forth. I try to listen to everybody. I try to build consensus or understanding with everybody on both sides of the political aisle, across the political spectrum. I think that does make me an effective leader because I think that we can get things done and try to bring people over to our side, move the needle more to the center. But what they said about me was a total lie. The way they made it sound was that I supported someone coming to your door, knocking on the door and say, this is Mr. Jones. He's a nurse. He's going to come give you a COVID vaccine. They said that I wanted to mandate COVID vaccines for all individuals. And that's a lie. She should be held accountable for that lie. And there are other lies that she did and other unethical things that she's doing. And at some point I'll go over them, but probably not tonight. But yes, as far as first responders or any first responders, they should have the choice about whether or not to get vaccinated. They should get back pay. They should get their seniority back. They should be made whole, because what they did to those first responders was totally, it was wrong. I don't know what circumstances there would be. People ask me, well, when would you mandate a vaccine? And I said, I don't know the circumstances. Maybe the zombie apocalypse. I mean, I can't say never, because I don't believe in saying never. I don't know what the circumstances are, but I think we need to do a deep dive into what happened and put up guardrails so that so that what happened in 2020 doesn't happen again. And like you said, Glenn, they're trying to push this thing, and we really can't let them. We have to decide exactly what we want. And I'm thinking off the top of my head, and again, this is just a conversation. If there is some severe pandemic where the mortality rate is not 2% or 1%, but 15%, 20%, and they want us to do something, whoever it is, if they want, they should be able to take a leave of absence, and then not be penalized and be able to come back after the emergency is over. This is just a conversation. I can hear your thoughts about it, hear other people's thoughts about it, but I think it's very important to think outside the box, to listen to everybody's point of view, and to try to figure it out. Because I'm not the smartest person in the room, okay? We have a lot of smart people all over this city, and I pride myself on speaking to a lot of them and getting their point of view and taking a little bit of here and a little bit of there.
Well,
So I hope that answered your question about specifics.
Well, some people,
yeah, go ahead, Glenn.
Some people say Dr. Fauci was smart, but where did that get us?
Where did that get? Okay.
So, okay, so thank you for that. Now, since you're just running on the Conservative Party line, what is your feelings of how you're going to have your path to victory when you have a Republican candidate, which basically would be splitting the vote, as some people would say, and then the Democrat candidate? So there's no other fringe candidate on the Democrat left side that's running, like on the Liberal Party or
no, the working families, no.
Okay, so it's just those.
So,
three.
yep, Glenn, this is the year. There is no down ballot. There is no president. There is no governor. There is no mayor. The three top of the ticket are going to be Susan, Ying, and Vito. So I have broad support among independents. I have support among moderate Democrats, people who know me and who know my work, know my candidacy, who see my videos, who see my Facebook, my Twitter. I've been out there now. It's going on, a year and a half, when I've been pushing the same kind of agenda: common sense, middle of the road, reach out to everybody, keep you safe, small businesses. And I believe that that's going to resonate with independents especially. And the whole thing is voter turnout. My opponent in the Republican primary spent over $200,000 to my $4,000. I came in late. I raised money. I didn't have a mailer. They had 5 mailers. They sent out a bunch of negative information. They had a video truck going around, spewing garbage. I couldn't compete with that. But all of that being said, that I lost by 33 votes. They spent $200,000 to get 33 more votes. It's a horrible, listen, I do get upset sometimes. I get frustrated. Many politicians do. Many people who are involved in politics get frustrated, because I'll speak to someone, a Republican, and they'll say, Vito, what happened? Why didn't you win? What happened? Well, I lost by 33 votes. Well, how did that happen? I go, well, did you vote? He goes, oh, no, I didn't vote. I go, well, that's what happened. That's what happened.
I was telling people at work the other day, I said, listen, you're upset what's going on with us not getting a contract. We're in Teamsters 237.
Yep.
I work at Brooklyn College as a campus police sergeant. And I said to them, listen, you're upset. Well, who do you think is in charge of everything? The Democrat Party is in charge of every facet of government. Now, a lot of these people are Democrats. A lot of them are African American that I work with, and they tend to vote 95% or so Democrat for some blind reason. I don't know why, but a lot of them are starting to wake up. For example, one person that's already voting Republican but's registered Democrat, I gave him a form, I wrote a registration form. I said, switch your party. So can I have one for my wife? I said, sure. So speak to her, switch your party, because we as Republicans need signatures when we go around to get on the ballot. We need living Republicans. Half of them are dead on the list, moved, or if you do find a living soul, they say to you, hi, could you come back later? I'm cooking right now, or whatever. I'm watching TV. Could you come back later? Sure, I have nothing else to do. I was roaming the streets for two hours. I got one signature, and you're the second, but sure, I'll come back because I need 300 more signatures. I have nothing else to do. That is the insanity of everything. We need living Republicans. registered Republicans so we could sign those petitions so we could get on the ballot. So that's phase one of the deal. Obviously, go out and vote Republican or conservative, whatever the case may be in these races, but to actually register people. So I had another person. I gave him a form. He's a registered Democrat. He claimed he never voted before. I registered him. He's now becoming a Republican, African-American gentleman. He's now becoming a Republican. So make sure you vote. You got to vote. Enough is enough. If you're upset seeing what's going on with the illegal aliens coming in and taking our resources away from citizens here and other issues with what's going on with school, with Drag Queen Story Hour and all that other stuff. And hi, you have a 5-year-old. Let's, I think it's time to snip, snip, tuck, tuck, whatever, ever. Time to have your, like what they're trying to do in California with those laws, where if there's two parents having a divorce, maybe the other one will have custody or even have the right to see the kid because of the that you're against having your kid to have a sex change at age 5. So you know that California is usually the starter of this. You know it comes to New York. So well, that's just everything. Anyone with a normal brain would say hell no to that. So another quality of life issue that I've been seeing happening everywhere in this city is the congestion pricing. Now, congestion pricing, we all know what's going on. It's going to happen in the city. Years ago, it was stopped because we actually had Republicans in the state Senate to stop most of this insanity that we see happening in front of us. But now we don't have a stopgap. We have no one stopping these insane freaks. So right now, we're going to have congestion pricing pretty soon down somewhere in Manhattan, I forget, downtown or wherever they're claiming. But the point is, people have to realize it's not going to be only there. That's the beginning. Pretty soon you'll have it on Ocean Parkway. Pretty soon you'll have it anywhere in Brooklyn where there's types of big streets or whatever. They're going to do that. They are insane. They will not stop with this Green New Deal garbage. They will take away the cars. Everyone has to realize by the year 2035 in New York State, you cannot buy a brand new car unless it's an electric vehicle. Where the hell do they think we're all plugging this in? Our electric grid will collapse. Where am I plugging it? I live in a house. I'm going to run a plug. You have to have a special port for this. My next door neighbor has one. Now I'm scared because his car might go up in flames with these batteries, One day I see the car up in flames. These electric bikes that you see everywhere, another quality of life issue. I would like your thoughts on the electric bikes that are hitting people, that are going faster than my car could go. Okay, they never stop at any stop signs or lights, not at all. None of them get tickets, it seems like. And they're always going through a light. And when you do see one from some miraculous reason stopping at a light, that's because they're checking their phone because they have to go to a delivery and they just happen to be looking at their phone. There's no other reason because they go right through the stop sign, right through the light, go the wrong direction. It's like the wild, wild west and no one's doing anything. So in your thoughts, would you think it'd be proper to have these type of electric bikes to be registered or stuff like that? What's your thoughts on how to combat the craziness of these electric bikes? And of course,
what can we do with the congestion pricing? We've protested. I was at a protest. We've yelled, we've screamed. It's going to be pushed through. I know Nicole is trying to do something. Maybe we're going to sue. We're behind the 8 ball right now. Maybe if they see that they're not getting the results they want, like in other places they've tried it and pulled it back, maybe they'll stop it. But I mean, people going to the city, cops going to work. I worked Manhattan my whole career. They really want me to take the train at 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. Then I get home and you have to add an extra hour and a half to your commute. And it's not just cops, it's all of the first responders. It's the nurses that live in Bellevue, that live in Brooklyn. Yourself, you live and work in Brooklyn, but there are plenty of people that live, that work in the colleges in the city. And now they live in Brooklyn. They have to commute and they have to drive in if they're off hours. Right. It's a ridiculous thing. It's going to cost a lot of businesses a lot of money when they don't see the amount of people that are coming in. I mean, I'm thinking Broadway. I'm thinking Broadway is going to take a hit. Are you really going to go and you have to spend all this money for a Broadway show and maybe you'll eat out, maybe you won't. But now you have to add $40 or $23. It's
Right.
ridiculous. I mean,
Top of the parking that you have to pay
on
for.
top of the parking, or you take a train and, people aren't comfortable on the train.
Of
Uh,
course.
and listen, the trains were a lot safer back in 2016. They just were. They were a lot more pleasant. Not that the subway is ever pleasant, but they were more pleasant than they are now.
Oh yeah.
Uh, as far as the I'm sorry, you mentioned a whole bunch of things.
The electric bikes with the
Oh,
registry.
electric bikes, yes. So, and I spoke to Ari Kagan about this. So these electric bikes, electric and gas bikes, they're being sold in bike shops.
Right.
It's like $1,200. That's like 1,100 to 1,200 bucks for an electric model, like 1,400 to 1,500 bucks for a gas model. They're being sold in all of these shops. And they're legal to sell, but they're not legal to possess. It's just that they're not legal to use on the streets. It's just that they can't enforce it enough. And does everyone here know that you can't go into a pet store and buy a guinea pig? You can't go buy a puppy. So maybe, just maybe, we should get a law where you can't sell these bikes in New York City because they can't be used. Maybe that would take a dent. They would put a dent into these people using them. And
Yeah.
then at the point, but the city council, there's a bill, Bob Holden, Common Sense Caucus again, he's got a bill that would register these bikes, that would make these individuals, some kind of accountable in some kind of way for riding these things. Now, I don't know how far we want to go with it. I don't want to, do we want to make them get mini scooter licenses? Do we really want to put people through the DMV? I don't know if that's the thing. I think I'd be happy if they all had registration and if they all, had to follow motor vehicle law, stay off the sidewalk, ride with traffic. I would like to see that and a crackdown by the cops enforcing that thing, have to have a license on them or identification on them. I would like to see that. And then if they're not going to do that, because the Democrats, they won't even discuss this bill. So we have the Common Sense Dems, the Common Sense Caucus, I'm sorry, with moderate Dems trying to push this really reasonable bill, but it's being stymied by the progressive left, as
Now,
everything else we want to do is.
of course, and pertaining to the bicycle shops you mentioned, I remember hearing about a month or two ago one of these bicycle shops going up in flames from the batteries of these bikes, and there's a lot of deaths throughout the city because of these electric bikes being in apartments and what have you, and the batteries are just exploding as these bikes get older. They get cheap replacement batteries, and these batteries are worse than the manufactured normal batteries. And these batteries are starting to go up and, exploding and causing fires. So that is me as a homeowner. I put specific language in my leases that no electric bikes to be stored on premise or on the side of the house. None whatsoever. I don't want that in my house. I think these are a danger, but hey, it's for the environment, right? The rare earth minerals that it takes for these types of batteries. It's very good for the environment. And we should always go with the Green New Deal because they know best. They are smarter than all of us. No, they're not. They're absolutely insane. And there's even a bike lane now on one of these bridges. I forget which bridge it is.
Brooklyn Bridge.
Brooklyn Bridge.
So they got rid of listen, I like, it's better now than it was, honestly, because it was crazy. If you tried to, we have a tourist, listen, Brooklyn Bridge is a tourist spot, right? I work downtown Manhattan. So you had the bikes up there, we're running people over left and right. So you have the balance, we have to take care of the pedestrians up there. So they put the bike lane on I believe it's the westbound lane of the Brooklyn Bridge. I do drive over the Brooklyn Bridge. It's not the worst thing in the world. But they did clear the pedestrian walkway. But of course, it's taken over by unlicensed peddlers. If you go up there now, it's like it's like a bazaar, and so it's like defeating the purpose. We wanted to get rid of the congestion up there, but they're not enforcing that either. It's just insane.
Well, the city is rotting to the core. It's a matter of time that we become the next Detroit. If you look at every major city in America that is a horrible city, which is basically every city, it seems like, but they all have one thing in common, and that is that it's run by the Democrat Party. And it's run by the Democrat Party for many, many, many years, and so many years of decay. Well, name me some worse cities in America. Baltimore, a big Republican stronghold. No. You have Houston, that's not so great. You have uh, uh, Chicago. You have all these horrible cities. Philadelphia, they're all rotting. San Francisco, LA, they're all rotting, and they all have one thing in common: they're Democrat controlled. So people, I don't know when is enough, because it seems like people will always continue to vote for the Democrat Party because you were mentioning about ice. Well, it's a matter of time before they actually have vending machines where they supply ice. You know what I mean? Meth to people in the vending machines. They already do that with the crack pipes, right? So why not have the hardcore drugs right there in the vending machine and say, hey, oh, good, I got some ice. That's wonderful, because that's the path we're heading towards. That is what the psychotics that we elect, not me and you, of course, but the people that stay home and say, oh, they're all the same, they're Republican, they're conservative, whatever, they're all the same, Democrats, I'm not voting at all. Well, then you're part of the problem. If you're going to stay home and not vote, but you're complaining that these are real issues, then why the hell are you complaining? Get out there. You have a month. You have a whole damn month to vote. Get out there, vote. Obviously not for the Democrats.
So few people, Glenn, came. I mean, I went to every single poll site, right, in my area. I had sometimes a handful of people would come. A handful of people all day. Yes, and what does that cost? $250 a day for the poll workers. You have to open the spot. It costs a fortune, which is fine. If you want to listen, want to have voter access, that's fine. That's the least onerous voter accessibility part. The absentee ballots they want to do, the ballot harvesting, the senior centers, all of that stuff is far more onerous. I mean, and that's the other thing we have to do, Glenn. We as Republicans, conservatives, we have to send the message, and this is a nationwide initiative. I spoke to an individual on the National Party. Bank your vote. We have to get out the word. Bank your vote. As soon as you have an opportunity to vote, go out and do so. You have the 10 days, October 28th to November 5th. Do it, because you never know. Election day comes and the kids are sick, or it's raining, or you're not feeling well. The Democrats do a better job at this. We got to tell people, get out there as soon as you can, plan your vote, when you're going to go, do it after work, do it after school, whatever you have to do. Vote as soon as you can, get your vote in there. That's so important that we communicate that to people.
Absolutely, very important. And people need to start doing that, because we're always behind the 8 ball on election day. And look, that's how you got Fester elected in Pennsylvania. You had, how the hell did Fetterman? I hear Fetterman. I don't even know. I just seen a picture somewhere on the Bay Ridge Facebook page. That Fetterman was in Bay Ridge. Do you know why this?
Want to hang out with Justin? I don't know.
Probably. I guess good comrades like to do old Bolshevik war stories together. That's nice. I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, New York needs to wake up, because we are heading towards a hellish future, and we need common sense elected officials in office, because we cannot continue on the path that we're on of insanity. So with that being said, if Larry, if we have any questions in the audience in the chat section, if you could read some of them that you might see.
Glenn, may I share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure, Vito.
Yeah, Vito, you were saying something?
Yeah, could you allow me to share my screen?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, let him.
Yeah, okay. Try now, Vito.
Oh, thank you. You see that? That responds to a question in the chat if I had Chinese support. I do have Chinese support. I have like I said, I had 400 and something people vote for me in the primary. So 397, I think. She had 415 maybe. So I have a core group of supporters in the Chinese community. We're talking about a path to victory. To give me 3 names up there. They may split the vote. I'll have a percentage of Chinese people that I will get, and then, we're going to reach out to everyone else.
Okay. Larry, any questions that you see?
I'm checking. Yeah, that was one, I don't really see any other questions.
Or how
Um,
about this? If anyone
there's
has any questions for Vito, you could type them in right now.
there is a little bit of chatter here about the congestion pricing plan. Um, so Shari was saying that it's a sliding scale. There's a little bit of a debate. They're working on helping firefighters and teachers to bypass that. Also, Steve was saying if you're making less than 50 grand a year, you won't have to pay that congestion pricing. Vito, do you want to comment on this? And sure you're
So
following
listen,
the
that's the
chat,
state
so
thing. So I work with Lester Chang. I'm still a
okay.
senior advisor. I was working with him yesterday on some school issues. So that's got to be sent through the state. The state legislators got to decide on all this, and they're not coming back until January, right? They're in recess until then. So of course I would be in support of any waivers for any of our civil servants, so they don't get penalized for this. But I don't know if that's going to be able to get through.
Right.
Okay.
Especially the makeup that we have running our government that's so anti police or anti anything that's it seems to be that's normal. They will definitely be against it because good old Democrats. We need more of them, everyone. Remember, keep voting for them and keep on reaping the rewards of the insanity that we are seeing in front of us. Obviously, I know this audience don't do that, but
So
please
Sherry,
your friends.
the question, Sherry has a question. I don't understand her point of view. Is she saying that 60,000 is a good threshold or not a good threshold?
Is Larry, is she typing or do you see that?
I mean, because 60,000, I mean, cops, firefighters, they start now. The teachers just got a raise. A starting teacher is going to make 60 grand almost.
Right.
I think most people who are working are making over 60,000. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be able to live here.
Right. Like the police stations, the police officers, most of them have police parking plaques. So they don't get tickets while they're going to work. They're first responders. They shouldn't be penalized. Everyone says, "Oh, you're making 100,000. All right, then you go to a job where any given moment you could be blown away. Okay, let's see how you want to put your life on the risk for 100,000 or less, or whatever the case may be. Any given moment, you could now the way the things are working, you could be personally sued, right? Did that go through? That what was that called? That the wording on that, the where the cops now could be sued. Did that go
Qualified
through?
immunity.
Qualified immunity. Did that go through? Or
Oh yeah, that went
yeah,
through a couple of years ago.
oh, there you go. So it did go through, and so at any given moment, you could have a job where you could be sued because of whatever reasons. And I'm sure our wonderful jury pool in New York and the judges, which are tried and true conservatives, will be on the side of law enforcement in that regard. No, they won't. They won't. They will all be sued and they will be losing a lot. That's why you don't see a lot of responses also. Keep that in mind, where people don't go to calls to take your little statements and what have you. And why now also car accidents? You like, well, I had a car accident. No, now you have to go to the precinct and do your own damn report. Basically, you have to go there. You have to go there. Not that they're coming to you unless there's an injury. If you say you're injured, then they come. Because of our quality of life is being deteriorated by the left. They are just destroying us when it comes to these issues. They like to nitpick about everything. They want to come for your bank accounts. Remember, they were trying to do that on a national level. They're trying to come for your bank accounts to see how much money you have, and then the IRS could look into your bank. It's ridiculous how they hired the 87,000 IRA. Oh no, it's just for the millionaires. Please give me a break. It's for you and I. They are coming for all of us. But keep voting Democrat and keep complaining, people, or stay home. Don't vote, then complain. People need to wake up. Enough is enough. And I'm very angry that our side, a lot of us tend to stay home, complain, do nothing about it. Don't bring a neighbor with you that agrees with you. Obviously, don't agree with you, don't bring them with you, but that agrees with you and say, come on, let's go vote. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's New York. It does matter because we've proven that it could be paths to victory when we had the three assemblymen already elected in Brooklyn. And then the city councilwoman, Ina Vernikov. There's plenty of ways that we could win. We could win in certain areas, sure. And then you have the immigrant class that are actually siding with our side of things. They're seeing what's going on in the schools. They don't want their kids attacked the way it is. They don't want the criminals on the street. But we as Republicans and conservatives have to get that message out to them. We have to show that we are listening and that we're coming out to them, because the Democrats have a full hold on everything in this city and state, and we got to stop that. Now it's tough because we're behind the eight ball when it comes to money and getting that message out. Hey, at least we can go to the press and they'll give us a fair shake. No, they won't. That's why social media like this, what we're doing here tonight, YouTube or whatever the case may be, where we could get the message out to people through different platforms. And this way we can get our message out there, because otherwise it's going to be skewed in many different directions. So we have to work on retail politics, boots to the ground, getting your neighbor, your co-worker, whatever the case may be, to get them to realize, listen, if you're in a hellish situation, maybe not keep on voting for the same party that keeps on putting you in this situation. So hopefully people start to wake up.
So Glenn, let me just give a shout out, as I want to kill two birds with one stone. Ramon asked me about expanding the party, and that's something that we have to do. I want to really, we talk about the Hochul, I say it again and again, the Aviles Brandenmander. The only way to really send a message that what they did is so wrong is to vote conservative all the way down the line, Republican all the way down the line. Paul Rodriguez is going against Alex Aviles. He's a great candidate. We need to, great man, great guy. I worked with him last year. So I'm going to be working with him specifically to reach out to the Hispanic community this year. I mean, my district, and again, this is really something that I find personally offensive. They said, well, it's 54% Asian. And my opponent, Ying, says, oh, you should vote for me because I understand the culture. Listen, I've been working with the Chinese community since 2017. You don't need to be one ethnicity to reach out to any ethnicity. We have a 15% Hispanic population in my district. We have Russian, like some of my friends there said, conservative Russians. We have a big Jewish population, Russian Jews. They should feel, no one should feel like, well, I'm only 15%. They don't care about me.
Right.
Okay. And the idea that we redistrict based upon ethnicity, I think, is wrong anyway. It should be by some neutral metric, such as zip code or a census tract, and then you expand out and contract equal distant all around without these one block carve outs that they do. It's just so dirty, and I don't care. It's wrong no matter what. So if they're doing, Republicans are doing it down south somewhere, that shouldn't be allowed either. Okay, we should have one standard. And that standard should be no gerrymandering, but we do need to expand the Republican Party by both getting Democrats to come over. There's some nonsense in these weird blogs about Ari Kagan. You know what? I want more Democrats to come over. I don't know if they're saying he's going to flip. You know what? I don't know. I can't swear that that's going to happen, but he seems like an honorable person. I'm speaking to him on a regular basis. I support Ari Kagan. We have to give it a shot. If the only reason to be is to send the message that Republican conservative candidates are what we want, and getting rid of Brannon, I think, no matter what, is a better choice than than Ari Kagan, right? Ari Kagan is the person. Ari Kagan, Paul Rodriguez, and please, Vito LaBella. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Brennan is a horror show. And you look at Bay Ridge, I know that's not your district, but you look at Bay Ridge and on 86th Street, where Century 21 used to be, it looks like a ghost town. It looks like a shanty town. It's really derelict and really run down. You have a lot of homeless people running around on the streets over there,
Subways too.
subways, and it's just really decayed. And it's certainly not the time where it was under Marty Golden times and all that. He knew how to get things done, and this guy knows how to get things done too in the opposite direction and destroy things. He knows how to do that very well.
We had 20 years of Republican leadership, right? Giuliani for 8 and Bloomberg for 12. So we had the golden years. And when I tell people, during that time, we had the far left progressives, and they were in the background. They were yelling and screaming and protesting, and they were trying to be heard. And then over time, the pendulum swings. So maybe that's where we are right now. We're limited to what we can do, but we can yell, we can scream, we can build consensus until we get to the tipping point. I just hope it doesn't go as bad as it did in the 70s before we reach that place. But we can send the message. Remember, the pendulum swings both ways.
Right, and let's hope, because look, New York was on the outs, and like you said, in the 70s, where Ford basically said New York dropped dead, and I believe that was in 75, the year of my birth.
Yeah, so shut up.
So yeah, I remember the bicentennial. I was a year old anyway, but at the end of the day, we had to endure those horrors. The Bronx is burning, the whole city of decay.
Bronx is burning. Yep, 77.
Summer of Sam, good old times, right? Good old David Berkowitz, still rotting in prison, I hope. And so we have all those horrible times. I remember coming out of my house in the 1980s as a kid, saw a hypodermic needle in my tree. So I don't know if my tree caught AIDS or anything like that. I hope not, but the tree did die. It rotted away. So I don't know, maybe it caught something from that hypodermic needle. But it was a really not a fun time. It was, it was the 80s. I love the 80s, right? Reagan was president. It was still fun. I enjoyed it. But when you look back at it, I remember going on graffiti trains, right?
Mm-hmm.
Head to toe, everywhere you go. It's just disgusting. The trains, like, for example, these old Redbird trains. Remember these? Right?
Yes.
These were filled head to toe, filled with graffiti all over the place. And we...
7 line.
Yeah. So, you had it all like that. And people... So that got better when Giuliani took over, cleaned the place up, the quality of life crimes, people jumping the turnstiles. Then you'll find out that people had warrants for their arrest. And that's how we started driving these crime numbers down. But now we have just PC people in charge of things. And PC, politically correct stuff, always works. It doesn't. If you're in the twilight zone, it does. But we're living in reality, and it doesn't work. And these people are just living in bizarro land. And like, I can't emphasize again, everyone has to get out to vote. Vote, please. Drag a friend. Vote. Very important to do that, because we are behind in the numbers of the people. But the people are on our side. People don't agree with the left on all these psychotic issues, but somehow they're in charge of us, right? That's because of voter apathy. Oh, they're all the same, blah, blah, blah. We have to preach and say, you like the high food prices? You like the high inflation? Oh my God, peanut butter is this amount, $6 a jar, whatever, blah, blah. Mayonnaise, how much is that? Okay, well, who's in charge? Bidenomics is in charge, right? Okay, you're going to reward? Keep rewarding them. Oh, they're good. I hear Republicans are racist. I won't vote. Stop. Where'd you get that? A cliche corner where you hang out? Wake up. What is your reality? That's what I tell people. What is your reality where you live? What is your reality? You live in a horrible, let's say your neighborhood is filled with crime. What is your reality? Who is your state senator? Who is your state assemblyman? Who is your city council member forever? Look back, and you could easily do that. Oh, it's been the Democrats forever. So you're rewarding that party that makes your neighborhood horrid. Keep rewarding them. Why? Wake up. People have to wake up and say, what is my reality? And the reality is that we're going in the wrong direction. And we need common sense people to be in office to make common sense laws and not this insanity like no bail and all that we see. So Vito, in closing, what's your closing statement to our audience about election? And when is the election day again? That's November what? 8th?
No, but we got to bank our vote. Bank our vote. Saturday, October 28th.
There you
To
go.
Sunday, November 5th. You could check the specific times on the DOE website because it does change. And then election day is Tuesday, November 7th. Look, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't ask for money. We did make the 8-to-1 match. So we're in better shape than we were. We're going to have 3 mailers. We're going to have our robocalls. We're going to have texting. You're going to see my message. You're going to see a comparison between the 2 candidates and myself. I have 32 years in the NYPD. I have now probably going on 6 years in the Community Education Council. I apologize, withdrawn. I mean, 6 years working with the public school system. So I know the guts of the public school system. I know the guts of the NYPD. And neither of my opponents have anywhere near either the experience or the knowledge that I possess and I can use to reach out, and I can speak on any of these conversations on an ad hoc basis, and I don't have to worry about cue cards or getting my information from a third person. My website, my flyers, my social media, my emails that you may get from me, that's all Vito LaBella written. Those are my positions, my thoughts, and I'm not a puppet for anybody. So that's the number one thing. And the most important thing to me, sir, is integrity, transparency, and accountability. Those are the 3 things. And I would be remiss also if I didn't indicate that Yin Tan was thrown off the parent party. She submitted 1,250 signatures. She needed 450, and 1,013 of those signatures were bad. That's not a small number. That's an unusually large amount of number. And to me, that leads to, I think that leads to a conclusion that it was either gross negligence, incompetence, or intentional fraud. So, then there's nothing, I had a press conference on that. Stay tuned to my social media, Twitter, Facebook, and I'm going to be posting a bunch of different stuff comparing me with my 2 fellow candidates, and let the voters decide who's the best for District 43 and South Brooklyn, and by extension, New York City.
Well, absolutely. Look, I'm glad you came on tonight because we did extend an invite for Ying Tang to come on October 22nd meeting, so she could have her say too. I think it's important that everyone have their voice out there. And especially if you could put in the comments section, Vito, your website, if you could type that, put your website where people could donate to your campaign and help you out if they agree with you tonight. And look, you have very good points on a lot of issues. And I think it's important that every voice is heard, especially on the right side of things here, because at the end of the day, the Democrat Party is just insanity. And we cannot have that anymore. We need common sense people in office. So be the Republican candidate or the conservative candidate. Just because there's a split in the vote doesn't mean that we have to traditionally say, I can't vote for that person because of that reason. You vote for the best candidate. And that's why we want to get the voice out there from both sides of this issue of the we'll call it the right side.
Remember, all we need is a plurality in this
Right.
in this election. It's going to be very interesting. All we need is a plurality. No one should be counted out. It's going to be very, very interesting and very exciting.
And you
Thank you,
proved
everybody.
that you had with $4,000 against 200,000 that you could get that effort out there, and people are supporting you and people are behind you. So people don't count Vito out. Vito could actually win this, and Vito is a good man, and he has fought hard for our city for all these years. So we would like everyone to, even though you're silent, to give a round of applause for Vito. And thank you again for joining us, sir. I want to appreciate your
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Larry, you could stop the recording right now.